Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. Hi, everyone. We're so happy you're here today.
Today, we're talking about something very important for anyone learning English. How to memorize new words effectively.
Yes, learning new words is exciting, but it can also be challenging. Sometimes we learn a word today, but the next day, it just disappears from our memory.
Exactly. And that's why today, we'll share practical steps and tips to make new words stick in your memory, so you can use them naturally in speaking and writing.
We'll also give you a mini practice activity at the end, so you can try these tips immediately.
Awesome! So, whether you're at home, on the bus, or having a coffee break, today's episode will help you memorize words smarter, not harder.
All right, let's get started and take your English vocabulary to the next level.
So, Julia, before we jump into the tips, let's talk about why memorizing words is so important.
Absolutely. Vocabulary is like the building blocks of a language. The more words you know, the easier it is to understand others and express yourself clearly.
Exactly. Imagine trying to tell a story, but you keep forgetting the words you need. It's frustrating, right?
Yes, and it can make you feel less confident when speaking English. But if you know more words, you can speak naturally and communicate your ideas easily.
Not only that, but vocabulary also helps with listening and reading. When you hear or see a word you know, your brain immediately understands it. So learning becomes faster.
And it's not just about knowing the words, it's about using them correctly in sentences. Memorizing words helps you use them in real conversations, emails, or even social media messages.
Here's a small example. If you learn the word excited, you can say, I'm excited to watch a movie tonight, instead of just saying I'm happy. It makes your English sound more natural and interesting.
Exactly. So memorizing words is not just for exams or tests, it's for real-life communication.
And that's what makes learning vocabulary fun and useful. When you see your English improving day by day, it's motivating.
All right, now that we know why it's important, let's move to the first step on how to memorize words effectively.
All right, Julia, let's jump into step 1. Use words in context. Can you explain what that means for our listeners?
Sure, using words in context means learning a word by seeing or using it in a sentence, not just memorizing its meaning alone.
Ah, I get it. So instead of just remembering the word happy means feeling good, you learn it in a sentence like, I'm happy because I passed my English test.
Exactly. When you see or use a word in a sentence, your brain understands how it works and remembers it better.
It's like planting a seed. If you just know the word alone, it's like a seed in a bag. But if you use it in a sentence, it's like planting it in soil where it can grow.
I love that example. Another tip is to read or listen to English texts, stories, podcasts, or even social media posts. When you notice new words in context, it's easier to remember them.
And here's a quick mini practice. Let's take a word like delicious. Instead of memorizing the definition, try making a sentence. The cake my friend baked was delicious.
Yes, and even better, try saying it out loud. This way, you connect the meaning, the pronunciation, and the usage all together.
Exactly! Using words in context is the first and most important step to making your vocabulary stick.
All right, now that we know how to use words in context, let's move on to step 2. Create associations and visual images.
All right, Julia, let's move on to step 2. Create associations and visual images. What does that mean exactly?
This step is about linking a new word to something familiar in your mind. You can connect it to an image, a story, or even a personal experience. It helps your brain remember the word much faster.
Ah, So instead of just memorizing the word giraffe, I can imagine a giraffe eating leaves from a tall tree. That picture makes it easier to remember.
Exactly. And it works for abstract words too. Take the word happy. You might imagine smiling faces, sunny weather, or a fun moment with friends.
I like that. So basically, our brain remembers pictures and stories better than plain words.
Yes! Another trick is to create funny or unusual connections. The stranger or more unique the image, the more likely you are to remember it.
Let's try a quick example. How about the word relax? I imagine a cat lying on a hammock with sunglasses. That image instantly reminds me of the word.
Perfect, and you can do this with any word. The key is to make it personal and visual. The more your brain can see or feel it, the stronger your memory will be.
So remember, association plus visual image equals easier to memorize and recall words.
Exactly. All right, next we'll talk about step 3, use spaced repetition, which is another super powerful memory trick.
All right, Julia, now it's time for step 3. Use spaced repetition. Can you explain what that means?
Sure. Spaced repetition is a technique where you review words at increasing intervals. For example, after 1 day, then 3 days, then a week. This helps your brain move the words from short-term memory to long-term memory.
So instead of cramming 50 new words in 1 day, I review a few words multiple times over several days. That way, I remember them longer.
Exactly. It's like watering a plant regularly. If you only water it once, it won't grow. But if you water it over time, it becomes strong and healthy, just like your vocabulary.
I've also heard about apps like Anki or Quizlet. They're really helpful because they automatically show you words you need to review based on spaced repetition.
Yes, and even if you don't use apps, you can make a simple schedule. Review new words today, then again in 2 days, then after a week, and finally after a month.
Another tip is to say the words out loud when reviewing. Reading silently is okay, but speaking strengthens your memory even more.
Absolutely. Spaced repetition is one of the most powerful techniques for memorizing words. It makes sure your hard work doesn't disappear after just a few days.
Perfect. So, step 3 is all about reviewing words regularly and smartly.
Exactly. Now, let's move on to step 4. Make word lists and flashcards, which is another very practical technique.
All right, Julia, on to step 4. Make word lists and flashcards. This one sounds simple, but it's really effective, right?
Yes, Jason. Writing words down or making flashcards helps your brain see, touch, and process the words in a new way.
So, for example, I could write a list of 10 new words I learned today and review it before bed.
Exactly. And flashcards take it a step further. On one side, write the word, and on the other side, write the meaning, a sentence, or even a picture.
That's great! And you can carry them with you, or even use digital flashcards on your phone. Super convenient.
Yes, the key is reviewing them regularly, not just once. A few minutes every day is better than an hour once a week.
Perfect. So, step 4 is about writing, reviewing, and practicing words in a simple, organized way.
Exactly. Now let's move to step 5. Practice speaking and writing with new words, which is really fun.
All right, Julia. Now we're at step 5. Practice speaking and writing with new words. Why is this step so important?
Well, Jason, memorizing words is one thing, but using them actively is what really makes them stick in your brain.
So if I learn the word amazing, I should try saying it in a sentence like, "The movie was amazing," instead of just remembering the meaning?
Exactly. And don't stop at speaking. Writing is just as important. You could write short sentences, a journal, or even social media posts using your new words.
That makes sense. Using the words in real situations helps connect them to your daily life, right?
Yes, and here's a fun tip. Try role-playing conversations with a friend or even by yourself. For example, if your new word is delicious, you could pretend you're at a restaurant. This pasta is delicious.
I love that. It makes learning interactive and fun. Plus, it trains your brain to recall words automatically when you need them.
Exactly. The more you speak and write, the more natural the words feel. Soon, using new vocabulary will become easy and automatic.
Perfect. So step 5 is all about active usage. Speaking, writing, and practicing in real situations.
Yes. And next, we'll discuss Step 6. Learn words in themed groups, which will help organize your learning even better.
All right, Julia. Now let's talk about step 6. Learn words in themed groups. What does that mean?
It's simple, Jason. Instead of learning random words, group them by topics or themes like food, travel, emotions, or work.
So if I'm learning about food, I could focus on words like delicious, spicy, bitter, and sweet all together.
Exactly. This helps your brain create connections between words, making them easier to remember and use in real life.
That makes sense. And it also helps when you want to talk about a specific topic in English, because you already know the words related to it.
Yes, and you can even make small themed lists or flashcards for each topic. Review them regularly, and soon your vocabulary will feel organized and natural.
Perfect. So step 6 is all about learning words in groups to make memorization easier and more practical.
Exactly. And now that we've covered all the main steps, let's move on to common mistakes when memorizing words.
All right, Julia. Now let's talk about some common mistakes learners make when memorizing words.
Yes, one big mistake is trying to memorize too many words at once. Your brain can only handle so much, and cramming often leads to forgetting.
So it's better to learn a few words each day and review them regularly instead of 50 words in one day?
Exactly. Another mistake is learning words without using them. If you just memorize the meaning but never practice speaking or writing, you'll forget them quickly.
Right. And sometimes learners don't review words at all, which is a big problem. Without repetition, words fade from memory.
Yes. One more mistake is learning words randomly, without context or themes. It's much harder to remember words if they aren't connected to each other.
So the key takeaways are: learn a few words at a time, use them actively, review them regularly, and group them by theme.
Exactly. Avoid these mistakes, and your vocabulary learning will be much more effective and fun.
Perfect. Now, let's give our listeners a mini practice activity to try these steps themselves. All right, Julia, it's time for a mini practice activity for our listeners. Are you ready?
Absolutely, Jason. This is a fun way to try out the steps we just discussed.
Here's what we'll do. Choose 3 new words you've recently learned or want to learn. Write them down and follow these steps.
Step 1. Use them in a sentence. For example, if your word is amazing, you could say, "The concert last night was amazing."
Step 2. Create a visual image or association for each word. If your word is relax, imagine yourself lying on a hammock in the sun.
Step 3. Review the words tomorrow and again after a few days. This is your first introduction to spaced repetition.
And step 4. Try to speak or write a short paragraph using all 3 words. Don't worry about mistakes. Just use them.
Exactly. This mini activity combines context, visualization, repetition, and active usage, all the steps we talked about today.
So grab your notebook or phone, pick your 3 words, and try this activity right now. You'll be surprised how much you can remember.
Yes, small daily practice like this makes a huge difference over time.
All right, Julia. Before we wrap up, let's talk about motivation and how this helps in real life.
Yes, memorizing new words isn't just for exams or tests, it's for real communication. Every new word you learn is a tool to express yourself more clearly.
Exactly. Imagine traveling to a new country or meeting new people. If you know more words, you can talk confidently, understand more, and connect better.
And even in your daily life, writing emails, chatting with friends, or reading books, your vocabulary makes everything easier and more enjoyable.
Plus, every time you successfully use a new word, it gives you a small boost of confidence, which motivates you to keep learning more.
Absolutely. Learning words is like building a bridge between your thoughts and the world. The stronger your vocabulary, the smoother your communication becomes.
So remember, keep practicing, stay consistent, and connect new words to your life. That's how learning becomes meaningful and lasting.
Exactly. And now it's time for our outro and goodbye, where we'll recap everything for our listeners.
All right, Julia, that brings us to the end of today's episode on how to memorize new words.
Yes, we covered using words in context, creating associations, spaced repetition, flashcards, practicing speaking and writing, learning in themed groups, and avoiding common mistakes.
And we even gave our listeners a mini practice activity to try right away.
Remember, consistency is key. Practice a little every day, and soon your vocabulary will grow naturally.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with friends who are learning English.
Yes, keep practicing, stay motivated, and we'll see you in the next episode of the English Learning Podcast. Goodbye, everyone.